Welcome everyone back to Transfer Transitions. This is day 4, and this is our more on research. And this time we're going to be having a little bit into the arts, humanities, social sciences. Similar to how we had a representative from URC Sciences, we are now going to have a representative from the URC HASS, or Humanities, Arts, Social Sciences. We have Veronica Kimas, the program representative of the Undergraduate Research Center for the HASS. So I'm going to hand over to her so you can take over.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to speak to you today. Yes, my name is Veronica Kimaz, and I am the program rep for the Undergraduate Research Center for Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. So I have a presentation for you today, so I'm going to share my screen. All right, can everyone see this? Okay, perfect. So I just want to start off saying that I was a transfer when I did my undergrad at UCLA, so I'm very excited to speak to you all. So let's talk about our center. So we're a resource center for students who are interested in North Campus research, which means research in the humanities, arts, social sciences, and what surprises a lot of students, also the behavioral sciences. So our center can help you learn strategies for getting started with research, and we're going to go through and talk about these different opportunities with us, including the Undergraduate Research Portal, the SRP 99 research contract. We're going to talk about our different scholarship programs, our workshops, how you can schedule an advising appointment with us, how you can publish your work in our academic journal, or also be on the staff for the academic journal. We're also starting a research writing group to help students build community while doing virtual research. And then we can also help you by funding a travel grant to present at a conference. And then also, we fund and host Undergraduate Research Week, also with the URC Sciences. So let's talk about getting started with research at UCLA. So undergraduate research at UCLA is a very big part of the research experience. UCLA is the only university in the country that has 2 undergraduate research centers, us, URC HASS, and then also the URC Sciences, who spoke to you before. So you can do research in any discipline that you're interested in, and you can do either a faculty or a student-initiated project. So that means you can either be a research assistant for research that's going on with a faculty member, or you can come up with your own research question that you're interested in pursuing, and then get a faculty member to mentor you on that research. And then you can get scholarships and course credit for the research that you're doing. So everyone asks who can do research, and this is literally everyone. Over 4,000 undergraduates participate in research and creative inquiries each year. And then last year we had 1,400 students complete a senior thesis, which we're really proud of. So there are opportunities for students in all different situations. So you can be a permanent resident, AB 540, DACA, undocumented, international, and different underrepresented student groups. Don't let that stop you. Please come to our center and we can talk about how you can get research funding. We also encourage students to be really proactive and seek out research opportunities. UCLA is a huge place, and one thing that I recommend to undergrads is to note that not everything can be found in one place, and there's a lot of independent departments and centers. So it's really up to you to be curious and do the research on how you can get into research. So our center, we have 4 different scholarship programs, but there are a ton of other scholarship programs all across campus. So it may seem like a little bit of daunting, but if you put the time into it, you can find scholarships for your research. So you might be wondering, so what does it mean to do research in the humanities, arts, and social sciences? You might be more familiar with the idea of science research, like in a lab. So I'm going to talk to you about the different types of research there are. So humanities research is often described as the study of the human experience. So that's a really broad statement. What does that mean? So it can be a lot of things. You can be studying language, literature, philosophy, and this can look like a lot of different things. If you're interested in cultural practices, if you're interested in films or texts or artwork, this could all fall under humanities research. And research in the arts, this can involve creating research. Now, a lot of students might not realize that at UCLA, if you're doing a creative project, like if you're an artist and you do studio art, like painting or sculpting, or if you're a musician and you create a piece of music, that is considered doing research. This can also be research into investigating and studying art. So if you're not someone who creates your own art, but you're interested in arts research, you can also interpret and analyze different kinds of art. You can also create media arts projects, create performances or study performances. And it's really important to note that arts research is very interdisciplinary, and it can engage with other forms of research like humanities, social sciences, and sciences. Specifically, if you think about digital humanities students, those are students who are doing interdisciplinary creative projects that might fall under both computer science and art. So for the social and behavioral sciences, this broadly is the study of people in society. So if you're interested in studying history or geography or culture, this might be the research area for you. So social sciences can use a different variety of approaches and methodologies, but it really can go down to interviewing people, running experiencing, analyzing statistics, and also observing people in real life. And like the other branches of research that I mentioned, it also can be very interdisciplinary. So it's really important to note that just because research isn't necessarily in your own specific major, doesn't mean that you can't look into that research. So research during remote times might seem a little bit daunting, but it's not that different from in-person instruction. So because we are a research university, research is still happening and it's not stopping just because we're working remotely. So depending on what research project you're doing, as it says a case-by-case basis, some students can participate in on-campus research, but you would have to go to the website and check which projects are allowable to be on campus. There are also very strict health ordinances and set up so that you can practice social distancing while on campus. But the majority of research in the humanities, arts, and social sciences is done remotely right now. So if you're looking for different ways to do that, you can do interviews over Zoom, you could collect surveys online, you could do primary and secondary sources online through different databases and software, and you can also do interpretations. We really recommend students to not be limited by what they think they can and can't do, but instead look into research even though you're working remotely. So why would you want to do research? Especially as someone who's never done research before, you might not think that this is something for you. Well, one of the most amazing things about doing research is that you are actively contributing to the body of knowledge in your field. You're creating these knowledge that's happening and going on. It can also help you gain important skills outside of the classroom. So you're learning how to do work in your field that you won't necessarily get just learning in lectures. This gives you experience for your CV or your resume and can help you be more competitive for graduate or professional school. It can also help you build meaningful relationships and connect with professors in ways that you might not be able to in classrooms. And then you can also earn course credit for your research, which can go towards your overall GPA. So where can research take you? So we can help you present your research at Undergraduate Research Week, which is also an amazing experience for your CV or resume. We have different scholarship programs. There are prizes and awards. Like I said before, you can publish your work in our journals, which is an amazing opportunity as an undergraduate to be published. It's important to note that doing research helps you gain skills that are valuable, not only in academia, but outside also in the job market. So when should you start? You can start now or plan for later. As transfers, I understand that there might be stress to start immediately, feet on the ground when you come into college, but you can plan for later on starting research. One great thing is that research projects can be just a quarter long or they can be long term. So if you're interested in starting research, I recommend reaching out to faculty now, even if you're not going to do research in the fall, just to start gaining relationships with faculty and making different connections. And this is the biggest one. Students are often concerned about how to find a faculty mentor. Really, you have to reach out to faculty and make connections. This can sometimes be intimidating if it's someone that you've never met before or if you've never had a class with them, but you can definitely just email and reach out to a professor or go to their office hours via Zoom. We also want to let students know that you can work with any UCLA faculty, and those can be in the professional schools. So like Anderson, Law, or Luskin. Just because you haven't had the professor in one of your classes doesn't mean that they can't mentor you. Oftentimes, we recommend students to reach out to faculty with a cold email. So that means it's a faculty that you don't know, but it's important to not be intimidated. You should reach out to faculty who best represent the research that you're interested in. So what we recommend is looking at that professor's body of work and seeing if it lines up with your research interests. And if so, you can reach out to them. Also, on our website, we have template emails on how to reach out to faculty if that's not something that you have experience with. So that way we can help you get comfortable with reaching out to faculty. This is also really important. If you are interested in one of our scholarship programs, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit more detail later, you should start reaching out to faculty now. Our applications are due in November, so it's helpful to start looking in early October, which is coming up. And also make sure to give yourself time to see if the faculty work with you. Just because faculty say yes doesn't mean that you have to just go with the first person. Make sure that you're following what actually works. And yes, what's also really amazing is to build connections with TAs. TAs often know the background information about which faculty work with mentors well or which faculty are able to help you. That may not seem obvious, but it's really important to build that kind of network while you're an undergraduate and create different relationships. These are the people who in the future might write you a letter of recommendation for a job or for grad school. You can also ask for referrals. If your professor isn't looking to mentor students, you can ask them which professors are. That way you can find out who is looking for who. And as I've said multiple times before, don't be afraid to reach out. It's okay if you get 5 no's, just so at the end you get 1 yes. Yes, so this is a step-by-step way to do it. You go to your department's website, you find the faculty profiles, and you read the bios underneath and see what their different research interests are. I also recommend some faculty have their own personal websites. Look at their personal websites and see what type of either books or articles they've written and whether or not they line up with your research interests. That lets you know who to reach out to. And like I said before, here on our website, we have different sample emails on how to reach out to faculty. Another way to find opportunities is to go on the Undergraduate Research Portal. So this is online through My UCLA under the Academics tab or at this direct link. And this is basically a website where faculty members can post that they're looking for research assistants. It also has different research opportunities like scholarships, internships, and research programs. So if you're interested and you want to know, I highly recommend looking at the Undergraduate Research Portal. But don't be discouraged if you don't see a posting that you're interested in. The portal is constantly updated, and you can also make a profile because some faculty don't want to post on there and have students reach out to them. Instead, they'll look at the student profiles and reach out to the students through there. So the Undergraduate Research Portal is constantly changing and updating, so I highly recommend that you go check it out. So if you sign up for research, you can get course credit through the SRP 99. So this is basically a research contract course that allows you to get credit on your transcript for doing research. It's 1 to 2 units of lower division credit with pass/no-pass grading. So the reason to enroll in an SRP 99 is because it allows you to formalize your research experience. You can earn units, and some departments require enrollment in an SRP 99 before you can move on to an upper division research course. Also, a lot of research scholarship programs, like the scholarship programs in my center and outside, require an SRP 99 enrollment to receive your funding. So you can move on from an SRP 99, which is a lower division. Anyone can enroll in an SRP 99. It's 1 to 2 units. You could be your first quarter at UCLA and enroll in it. Or if you're interested in upper division version, then you can use that to apply to a research scholarship program. Our center has 4 different scholarship programs: Research Revealed, URFP, which is our fellows program, URSP, which is our scholars program, and MMUF, the Mellon Mays Undergraduate Fellowship Program. Other departments and centers that offer similar scholarship programs are like AAP, which have McNair and undocu-provens, or Honors, which has the college reentry. So it's important to note that if one of our 4 scholarships doesn't work for you, there are other options around campus that you can check out. So this is the breakdown of our different scholarship programs. I just want to highlight specifically URFP and MMUF because those application deadlines are due November 15th. URFP is an entry-level research scholarship program. So you can have never done research before, but if you have a faculty member, you can apply for URFP, do research for 2 quarters in winter and spring, and you can get a $3,000 scholarship. And you're required to enroll in HC 101A during winter and an SRP 99 or an upper division contract course. So the basic way to understand it is, if you're doing research, you might as well apply to a research scholarship program because then you could get funding for the research that you're doing. MMUF is a more advanced research scholarship program, and it's a 2-year where only juniors or seniors can apply. I really recommend students, especially transfers, to check out MMUF because it's a really great opportunity, and the funding can go beyond your undergraduate career, and you can get up to $10,000 in student loan reimbursement if you continue on to graduate school and finish your PhD. MMUF is specifically geared towards students who are interested in becoming a professor, and the goal is to diversify the professoriate. So if you're interested in academia, I highly recommend checking out MMUF. These other 2 research scholarship programs, Research Revealed, is actually a scholarship preparatory program. So this is specifically for first years, second years, and first year transfers. So freshmen, sophomores, and first year transfer juniors. Research Reveals prepare you for doing research. So during that course, you would take a class, and on the finishing of that class, you would receive a $200 scholarship. And the class teaches you how to do research, how to get into it, different research methodologies. It has guest speakers coming in. So it's a really great opportunity for people who've never done research to enroll in Research Revealed, and then the next quarter you can get into research. Our last one is URSP. The application isn't until June 20th, and then it's for the following year. This is our more advanced research scholarship program and is more comparable to MMUF, but it's only 1 year. The scholarship is $4,500 for juniors or $6,000 for seniors. So this is a much more strong commitment to research. So if you work on research throughout this whole year, coming to the end of the year in June, you can apply for URSP for your next year. So letters of recommendation. A lot of transfer students feel disadvantaged because they don't come in with letters of recommendation, but you don't necessarily have to have a pre-established relationship with a mentor. Most freshman admits don't have a pre-established letter of recommendation with faculty. So it's important to note that these can be brief. It can just be a way of the faculty saying that they're willing to work with you and be based on the information that they've seen about your past academic letter that they're supporting you. On our website, we also have a letter of recommendation form that you can give to your mentor. And it's also really important to give your mentor plenty of time to write your letter of recommendation. Last minute requests aren't always answered. If you're still not able to get a letter of recommendation from a faculty member at UCLA, you can also include a supplementary letter of recommendation from your community college or your previous university. But you must have a letter of recommendation for your faculty mentor for certain scholarship programs, so keep that in mind. So different additional support and resources. Our center is very happy to host many different kinds of workshops. So they're all online instead of in person this fall, winter, and spring. We have the Cornerstone Research Workshop Series, which helps you get started with research. And this has practical and foundational skills. So some of the workshops can be everything from, like I said, tips for getting started with research and finding a faculty mentor, like I've talked to you today, but they can also be talking about how to look up sources, what is library research, what is a primary and secondary resource. So those are different things that you can learn in Cornerstone. Then we also have our research methods workshops, which helps you with advanced skills, such as interviewing people or doing a presentation. We also have info sessions that go more in depth about all of our scholarship programs, which I've talked to you about today. And then also online, there's the WIRE modules, which we've worked with the UCLA library on, that also goes into different skills for research. Our center also has one-on-one advising appointments with our graduate student mentors. This can be a huge help. It can be anything from I'm kind of interested in research, but I don't know what I'm doing, all the way to I've done advanced research and I need someone to help me go over my paper for my findings. You can make an appointment with one of our graduate student mentors. We have appointments offered for weeks 1 through 10. Also, if you're going to be applying for any of our scholarship programs, you can make an appointment with one of our graduate student mentors and they can advise you on your application. And finally, if you do research, you can publish your work in our student journal. Olive is the undergraduate research journal for the Humanities and Social Sciences. Submissions are accepted in January. So if you do research this quarter, you can submit in January, or you can also do research this year and follow up next year. If you don't do research, but you are interested in different things like editing or publishing, you can also join the staff. We're also starting a research writing group. If you're not able to scan this here on our screen, there's also a PDF and chat. This is a way you can join the undergraduate research and creative community, and that way you can work on your projects side by side, and you can share your progress and goals. We really recommend that you sign up for our newsletter because we're really excited to start this research writing group and really foster a community, because previously we would have students come into our center and talk to each other. So now we want students to be able to connect outside virtually and support each other on their research writing. We also have conferences. While a lot of in-person conferences have been canceled, actually a ton of them have been transferred online. Our undergraduate research week was virtual last year and we're planning on it to be virtual this year. There are still a bunch of other virtual conferences. However, some conferences are still in person. So if you get accepted to present at an in-person conference, we can travel up to $300 for national travel and $500 for international travel. So that is still something to consider. And this can cover conference registration, mileage, flights, and lodging. So Undergraduate Research Week is our biggest research event every year. Last year was our first time putting it on virtually, but we're really excited for it this year because now we hopefully get all the kinks worked out. So this is going to be open to all majors and disciplines, and abstracts are due April 15th. So we can also host workshops that are about how to write an abstract, how to craft a virtual presentation. So it's really important to note that if you don't know how to do any of this stuff, don't worry. Our center can help you learn how to do that, whether it's at a workshop or whether it's at a one-on-one meeting. We're also having an arts exhibition. So this is for interdisciplinary and creative projects. Last year was our multimedia salon, but this year it's going to be our arts exhibition, and these are also due April 15th. So in the past, we've had students for our arts exhibition do poetry, do dance, do creative projects. So anything you're interested in, you can apply. And so these are some other resources for those doing research at UCLA. We have the UCLA library, which is amazing, and there are a ton of resources at UCLA. You can have research consultations, we have different subject librarians who have really specific knowledge, and also really amazing special collections on campus, so I highly recommend you check it out. If you need help with your writing, whether you're going to create a resume, a CV, or you have a research proposal, you can go to the Undergraduate Writing Center. Like I said before, there are the WIRE modules, which are free online research and writing tutorials, and then the IDRE workshops, which are free workshops on how to do different software and programs, which can help you with research modeling like statistics and analytics. And then here's our newsletter, which you can stay up to date on opportunities and deadlines and resources. Like I said, the PDF to also scan is in our link, and it's also on our website. And you can visit us for more information. We are open 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. We're not currently on campus in Murphy Hall, which means it's probably actually easier to get a hold of us. You can just email or call. I'm the person who answers the phone, so I'm be very excited to talk to you guys. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we also have our newsletter. So please reach out to us if you have any questions, including repeating anything that I've said here. That's totally okay. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Veronica. That was great. I learned so much, and I know a lot of students have so many questions and they learned so much. So feel free to ask the questions in the chat. We will first start with the pre-survey questions that were turned in. So the first question we have for you, which is a good question, is what's the difference between community research and PhD research?
So depending on your definitions of community research, so most community research is based in the community for the community, and it has direct effects on those they're working on. So some examples of community research at UCLA are outreach research that happens and different programs that go out to schools. So in that kind of research, people are in the schools physically, they're doing research on the students and on education. And that research directly responds to the needs of the school. Oftentimes, PhD research is more academic in that it's more hypothetical, and it's aiming to instead intervene into academia and intervene into, sorry, I lost my train of thought, and it's to intervene into theoretical practice. However, it's important to note that these are not necessarily oppositional forms of research, and they often do interact. At UCLA, there is community-based research PhDs. Now, if you mean community college research instead of PhD research, it's really important to note that research that's going on at community colleges isn't necessarily different to what's going on at UCLA. And if you have previous experience at your community college, that is a really amazing leg up and will also help you with your research at UCLA.
Awesome. Thank you so much for asking that question. I'll have my other friend, Carlos, ask the next question.
Yeah, awesome. So the next question we collected on our pre-survey was, how do I know what research programs work best for my major?
That's a really great question. So depending on your major and depending on if you're North or South Campus, you can come to one of our centers and talk to one of our graduate student mentors one-on-one about your different research project and what research works for you. Certain majors do have research programs that are specific to that major, but a lot of research programs are more broad and any major could apply to them, or any major within an academic subset. So for example, the scholarships in our program aren't necessarily limited to one major, but they are limited to North Campus students. If you're interested in applying to MMUF, that has an even shorter list based on Mellon criteria of what majors can apply to it. However, if you're interested in something that's more broad, I recommend that you check out our website, but if you're interested in something more specific, I highly recommend that you check out your departmental counselors. It's also important to note that the program doesn't necessarily depend on your major, but it can depend on your other interests and whether or not you're looking for a program that's more hands-on or a program that's more just funding your research that you do separate from your program. So something that I say often is that you do have to do a little bit of research about the kind of research that you're doing and the research on the different programs.
Definitely, thank you. And quickly to add on to that question, do you think you can clarify a little bit more on what's the difference between North Campus and South Campus for the new students?
Definitely. So that's something that we say at UCLA based on the actual geographic location of the different majors on campus. So North Campus is usually referring to humanities, arts, and social sciences. And those are the majors covered in our center, the URC HASS. South Campus is generally STEM majors, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's really important to know that a lot of research is actually extremely interdisciplinary, so you don't necessarily have to think of your research as categorized in one arena, and you also don't necessarily have to work on research within your own major. But yes, so generally, North Campus refers to humanities, arts, and social sciences, and South Campus refers to STEM.
Awesome, thank you so much. I'm gonna pass it to Francis to ask the next question.
Thank you so much for your answers. We have another pre-survey question for you. So how do I get involved in research programs for certain minorities or something similar?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. So depending on what you're looking for example, if you're looking for research on certain minorities, or if you're looking for research that supports you as a certain minority. It really depends on which one you're looking for. I recommend checking out the different research programs that are at AAP. For example, McNair or UndocuBruins. Those are specifically research programs to support students who are from underrepresented groups in research. Our center also has, like I said before, MMUF, which is the program specifically to diversify the professoriate, and it's for those who are interested in joining academia. It's geared towards either minority students or students who are interested in doing research on minority topics. The different ways that you can look for research opportunities, maybe specifically toward your specific situation or your specific research, is to actually check out different research centers on campus. So just to throw one out, there's the Jewish Studies Center on campus. There's the Center for, Women in Labor. So if you're interested in specific arenas, I recommend checking out those websites. It's also important to note that while our center isn't necessarily geared towards one arena, often students will come in and ask me, and while I'm looking for them, I will just Google minority issue that I'm interested in, plus UCLA research. And while I know it might feel a little bit difficult because not all of these places are under one roof, you can find research in your specific area.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Veronica, for answering that question. Just to clarify more on North and South Campus, there are like specific majors that students like get confused if it belongs to you or to the sciences. So can you explain if the psychology and econ fall under the under yours or the sciences, because it's like kind of sciencey and also socially. So if you can elaborate on that, and then I'll ask you the next pre-survey question.
Definitely, that's a really great question, and that's one that we commonly get at our center. So as you might have known, recently in the past year, econ was officially labeled as STEM at UCLA, but the research is those contents are still actually processed through our center. This has to do with the methodologies that are used in that research and which center better can help them. So psychology research is also usually processed under our center because it's considered a behavioral science, and the research methodologies are more similar to North Campus or Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences than they are to South Campus. However, psychology research that also overlaps with physical sciences, for example, neurology or medical contracts, those go to the URC sciences. So it can be really based on the specific research project. And it's also really important to not get hung up by whether or not your research is North Campus or South Campus, because like I said before, research is really interdisciplinary. And for example, if you end up going to the wrong center, we communicate with each other. We'll just help you, point you in the right direction.
Perfect. I'm sure that clears up a lot of stuff for the students. So the next question in the pre-survey we had was, how should I prepare myself before contacting a research group or like the PI, I assume?
Definitely. So depending on your background experience, we highly recommend you creating a CV, which is a curriculum vitae, which is basically a resume for your academic experience. This is really important when reaching out to a PI or a faculty mentor because it helps them show your different experiences. It's important to not diminish research experience that you had in community college or high school, because often people don't necessarily think that they have research experience if they haven't been on a research project or in a lab, but you do and have done research in your classes. We also can recommend that you take one of our workshops that we host through our center, which has different research skills that you can learn. And those are really valuable because it shows that you have research skills before going into it.
I just want to clarify what PI means. So that's just personal investigator. That also means like the professor who is running the research, if you didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay, Carlos, if you want to take on the next question.
Yes, so the next question that we got for the pre-survey is there any research or research programs that are specifically pertaining to philosophy?
So philosophy is a smaller department, so I don't know of any research programs that they run through their department, but they do host the honors series of courses, which are the 198 through 190C. These honors research courses are courses that you take as an upper division, usually senior, though they might accept juniors. I'm not sure. You'd have to check out with the department, in which you run a research project and you come up with a senior thesis. They also have the Philosophy 199 course, which is an upper division research contract course, similar to an SRP 99, in which you work with a philosophy professor, and you can either be an assistant on a faculty-led research project, or more commonly in philosophy research, if you have your own research project that you're interested in and a research question that you want to pursue, this is a research contract course in the philosophy department in which you can get course credit for doing your own individualized research. Either of these courses, you can enroll in a different scholarship programs. So if you're enrolled in a Philosophy 99 or 199 research contract course, you can apply for a research scholarship through our center like URFP or MMUF or URSP.
Awesome, thank you.
So for the next question that we have, it's also from the pre-survey still, but are there any programs or groups on campus that can help students with looking and applying for research?
Yes, definitely. So depending on what you're interested in, you can make an individualized appointment with one of our graduate student mentors. They're individualized 30-minute appointments, and they can help you look for different research opportunities that you're interested in.
Perfect. The next one we have is, how can I be more competitive to get into a research group if I do not have any prior experience?
Okay, like I said it before, it's really important to note that you do have prior research experience. If you've done research for a paper in your class, or if you've done a project in your class, that is research experience. Even if it's not with a lab, a PI, a primary investigator, or with a faculty mentor, that is research experience, and that's something that you should be putting on your CV. Like I said before, you can also take some of our research workshops, which gives you research skills. So if you've never done research interviews or you've never done a research presentation, we have workshops that teach you how to do that. And then you would put that workshop and those skills that you learned on your CV as something that makes you more competitive. It's really important to note that the skills that you learn through info sessions and workshops are valuable, and you should be recording them on your CV. And if you don't have a CV yet, I highly recommend you start one. You can go to the Writing Center, they'll help you. And it's important to note that you should just put as much information on there as possible and then edit it out later if it seems like too much. But basically what I'm saying is, your work is competitive, your past experience is competitive and is valuable in your applications.
Just a follow-up question on that, Veronica. So is it okay to just like list lab under your classes that you've taken, or is it better to go in depth on that research experience for a class, for example?
You should tailor it toward what you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying for something that's asking for specific skills, you can go into more detail in the arenas that have those specific skills. And then you can just list other classes and not give descriptions to them if you don't feel like they booster your information. So
Perfect.
Similar to a resume, like you should be editing your resume differently for each job you're applying for, you can also do that for your CV. But as an undergrad, it's really important to note that oftentimes they don't expect you to have previous experience. Being in college is when you're gaining experience. So don't be intimidated by the fact that you feel like you don't have as much experience as other students. You're in your undergraduate career to gain that experience.
This was great advice. Thank you so much.
Awesome, thank you. So those were all the questions that we had for the pre-survey. Now we're going to move on to the questions in the chat. So the first one that we have is, so it seems like that the research revealed deadline was September 1st. Would it be possible for students to just enroll in the class, or do they have to have applied to research revealed? by the September 1st deadline to take the class in fall?
So the class is specifically for the Research Revealed students. And it's not just for students who are getting the scholarship, it's also that the class limit is full for that course for the amount of people have been accepted in the program. But it is also important to note that this is a quarterly program. So even if you don't make it for this one, the next round of applications are going to be for winter quarter and also for spring quarter. So as long as you're an incoming junior, you can still take it winter or spring. But yes, the one for fall is already full.
Okay, and a quick follow-up to that question. So does, let's say somebody applied to Research Revealed, does that mean that they would have already sent out the acceptances for that, for fall by now?
Not all of the Research Revealed acceptances have been sent out. So don't feel worried if you haven't received anything. All of the decisions should be out by late next week. But I'm not sure if you guys have worked with application reviewers before, but they don't also always send them in on time. So once all of the application rounds have been reviewed, some of the acceptances have gone out, but don't be discouraged if you know someone who got an acceptance and you didn't. That just means your application is in a different round of review. But like I said, all of them should be out by late next week.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
So another question from the chat is, how do students make appointments with graduate student advisors to learn about research?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So you can just make an appointment by going ahead and emailing our center. It's urhass@college.ucla.edu. That email, don't worry, it's on our website. It's also in the PDF that I left in this chat. You can just email us and we can make you an appointment over email. If you don't email, you can also call our phone number, but because we're remote, it's better to go through email.
Perfect, thank you. Another question we had in the chat is, how can I do research since I need a professor, mentor if we are remote? Also, since I am a junior transfer, can I still do research my senior year?
Okay, so you can connect with a professor through email and Zoom. If you want to gain course credit for the research, you have to have a faculty mentor. That's just UCLA policy overall. To enroll in an SRP 999 or an Upper Division 199, you have to have a faculty mentor. To reach out through them, you reach out through email and through Zoom. Like I said before, it may seem a little bit difficult because we're working remotely, but you would still be able to reach out to them. Like I said in the presentation, you can check out the department's website, look at the list of faculty members and see what their specialties are and which closely align with your research interests, and then reach out with them. Sorry, could you repeat the second part of the question again?
Sure, yes. So it was asking about, since the student is junior transfer, can I still do research my senior year?
Yes, definitely. So you can wait to do research until your last quarter of your senior year. Because research programs can be up to just 1 quarter long, you don't necessarily have to start immediately. If you're interested in doing a long-term research process and then doing work later, yes, you can start now. But we had students who came to our center their last quarter of their senior year and enrolled into a research project. So you can really start anytime that you're interested, especially for student-initiated projects. If you're interested in lab research, it's a little more tricky because it depends on the individual lab and when they accept students. But for student-initiated research, you could do it anytime.
Okay, awesome, thank you. So the next question that we have is, can a student still apply to URFP if they're a half-time student and not full-time at the point of when they're applying? For reference, they're saying that in winter and spring, they're planning to be a full-time student.
Yes, you definitely can. As long as you know on your application your situation and that you're going to be full-time in winter and spring, you can enroll, apply for a URFP.
Awesome, thank you.
So do you have any advice for choosing a topic to do research about?
Yes, so there are different ways to look at it. You can either do a topic that completely depends on your major or your academic area of what you're doing that goes along with your work, or what students often do is do research about something they're passionate about. So this can really depend on your major and whether or not your major requires you to do research. For example, the majority of psych students are required to do research, so they do research within their major. And that research is often working with faculty researchers, and you're an assistant on their project. However, students in the humanities or the arts often do student-led research, so they do a research project on whatever they're passionate about. So we've had art students who do research about different dance subcultures because they're a dancer and that's something they're really interested in. And we've also had students do research projects about different areas of video games that they're really interested in. And while it didn't necessarily perfectly align with their major, doing that research really boosted them in their work ethic, their ability to analyze, their critical thinking, and as always, it looked really great on their CV.
Perfect, thank you. So the next question we have says, for the research writing group newsletter, would it be best to sign up with our UCLA email or personal, or does it not really matter which one?
It doesn't really matter which one. As long as it's an email that you're checking, that's the one that you should sign up with. We usually recommend that students go with the email that they're going to be able to reference more easily. So if you like to keep all of your school stuff on your school email, or if you like everything that goes directly to your phone, like I do, then I would do my personal email. We just want you to sign up for the newsletter because we want students to know when our scholarship deadlines are, because it's really heartbreaking when a student doesn't find out about this really great scholarship that they were eligible for until it was too late. And our newsletter has all of our scholarship updates, all of our workshops, and all of the information that you need so that you can get those scholarships.
Awesome. So sort of following up with the last part that you said about the workshops, how would somebody be able to access these workshops?
So our workshops are over Zoom. On our website, which is also listed in this presentation, it has all of our workshops with their Zoom links on them already good to go. It's the same Zoom link that we use throughout so that it's not confusing for students. It has all the times and the dates and then the Zoom link right there. So you could just click and then be in the workshop.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question is, what are research programs about, and are they the same as independent research?
So that can really depend. There are a lot of different kinds of research programs. So I'll just speak on the kinds of research programs that we have in our center. So yes, they can be the same thing as independent research. So to enroll in one of our research programs, you need to be enrolled in a research contract course. What kind of research you're doing for that can really depend. It can be independent research, which is generally faculty-led research, where you come up with whatever you're going to research. You decide what that's going to be. You work with your faculty mentor, and together you guys decide what it's going to be. It's not based on a class. And yes, those can be in our research scholarship programs. Alternatively, you can also be doing faculty-led research where you're in a lab or you're working on the professor's research program, and that's less independent. Our research scholarship programs are basically funding you for the research that you're already doing. URFP, you do a class along with it, but something like URSP, it just has requirements that go along with it, like you have to be enrolled in a research contract course. You have to maintain a certain GPA, and you have to participate in Undergraduate Research Week or write a paper. But the program itself is just funding your research. There are other research programs which require you to do research with them, to do trips, to fulfill different requirements. So it really depends on the program. Some of them are much more hands-on and some of them are much more hands-off.
So thank you for that. So if I'm planning to apply to grad school, would you recommend I get into research junior year so that it can boost my CV for my application, or would it be okay to wait until senior year?
That's a really great question, and it honestly depends on what field you're in. So if you're in STEM, the pressure to start doing research sooner can really depend on what field you're in and if it's more competitive to do research. However, this can really vary, so I can't necessarily speak on what's going to work for you. I highly recommend that you check with your departmental counselor because they're going to be able to give you better advice for your major and what field you're going to be into, and also what kind of grad school you're going to. So it really does depend.
Perfect. The next question, you kind of touched on it, but it's asking, is it all right to have any faculty mentor? Meaning, is it all right to reach out to faculty mentor whose research interests align with mine, even if they're outside of my department? I think maybe they're asking about SRP 99, 199. And
So the answer to that is yes. You can do a research project with a faculty mentor from any department. It really just, as you said, depends if they align with yours. It is important to note that your SRP 99 or your departmental 199 will come up on your transcript depending on their department. So, for example, if someone is a gender studies major, but they're working with a history faculty because the faculty's research interests really align with your research because research is interdisciplinary, it's going to come up on your transcript as History 99 or History 199. For the majority of students, this is not a problem. It doesn't affect whether or not they're going to get into any research scholarships. But if you are looking for credit for your major, that might be a problem, but it just really depends on you.
Awesome, thank you so much. And the next question we have is that, can anybody present during the research week, or is it only students that have been part of Research Revealed or some other type of research program?
So any student can apply to Undergraduate Research Week. The only specifications are that your abstract needs to be submitted by April 15th to be reviewed, and that you have a faculty mentor who's at UCLA currently. You do not need to be part of any research scholarship program. As long as you're doing research at UCLA, you can participate in Undergraduate Research Week.
Thank you. So we have one last question, and that is, does research have to include your major? You stated that it has to be, or it is interdisciplinary, but does it have to necessarily include your major?
The answer to that is also no. We get students who do research that's completely different than their major just because it's something that they're interested in, and also because they want to be well-rounded, depending on what you're looking for. The example that I usually get is that we've had students who are computer science majors, but they've done arts research because they're really interested in art and that was their personal passion. And while it didn't necessarily have anything to do with their major, if it's on their CV, it still shows their critical thinking skills, it still shows that their dedication, and it also shows that they have interests and ability that their major doesn't necessarily apply to. We often see this with students who are interested in going to work after undergrad instead of going to grad school. Especially, we have a lot of STEM majors who are interested in places like Google or other companies that have a really creative edge. They'll do research outside of STEM because they want to show that they're well balanced.
Awesome. With that, those were all the questions that we had, both in the chat and in the pre-survey. So yeah, thank you so much for this presentation. We really appreciate it. Oh, sorry, you can go, Vicente.
No, let me just stop the recording. I'm gonna pause the recording now. Are there any last minute questions we have for Veronica? Because we are reaching the end of the presentation.
I also want to note that if you guys don't have any questions now, please feel free to email us or call us. It's totally okay if you ask the exact same question that I already answered. Just reach out and we are super happy to help you.
Okay. I think I'm going to stop the recording. So again, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Veronica, for hosting this and giving a presentation. I'm really happy that a lot of people attended, and we're able to see a lot of the ways transfers get involved in research, especially in the arts, humanities, and social sciences. So again, thank you for coming, and thank Kate and Kelly for organizing this as well.
Yes, thank you all for having me. It was such a pleasure.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica, for answering all the questions that the students had.